Go ahead. Okay. First, I want to introduce myself. I'm Lisa or Atalanta, whichever one you want to call me is fine. I'm a Reiki master and a hoodoo practitioner. I'm studying Hecate and witchcraft right now, so I'm eclectic. I kind of skip around to different things and study whatever the spirit, guides me. I've been doing bones for about 8 years, and I've been reading tarot I'm about to be 51, and I started when I was 25, and that was my divination of choice. But once I got introduced to the bones at a pagan festival, I just became locked on them. So I've been doing those ever since. But I've got some little notes that I'll follow here and just kind of go on. Has anybody here ever done the bones before? No, everybody's brand new. Well, good. Okay, so this will be fun. Okay, well, just to start off, this particular way of studying bones is, and I think I said this earlier, but not everybody was here, is Native American, African, and Southern Hoodoo practicing. So this is the type of bones, because there's so many different types. I mean, I have a list here. There's they've started from Africa, and there's Asia, and there's in Italy, all over Europe. There's been bone. Back in the long time ago, the Vikings used bones for divination. So they don't know when exactly it started, but it got popular in the United States around 1954. So that's when the popularity sort of started out, and it was with the type that I'm about to teach you now. So we're going to kind of move on here. So first of all, what you need, I'm just going to jump right in because my classes are usually 2 hours long. So we're going to sort of just jump right into what you need. I don't know if you want to take notes, or, if this is something that you're really interested, then you might want to jot some of the stuff down. So the first thing that you're going to need is a container of some sort. And I have a box because I have so many that I have about 200 bones. If I can get it open here. Oh, it doesn't want to open. There we go. Anyway, I have some of them in here right now, and then I have some I'm going to be showing you that are interesting. So I keep mine in a box, but you can keep yours in like a little bag. It's fine, especially whenever you're first beginning. The bags are absolutely acceptable. You can keep them in just a basket, an open basket, but just know that you need to keep them covered. That's out of respect to the bones. So when storing them, you want to store them next to an ancestral altar. Does anybody here have an ancestral altar? You do? Okay, some of you do. Okay, good. So when you first get your bones, obviously the first thing you want to do is clean them. And I suggest the Florida water, even rose water, Hoyt's cologne, or you can sage them and smoke them. Now, if you sage and smoke them, you're going to want to take the ashes and actually put them inside with the bones and mix them up. That's very important that you do that to cleanse them. So that's the very first thing you're going to do. Then, of course, you have your ancestral altar. You'll be storing them next to that if they're not kept on you. I keep my bones with me everywhere I go. I keep them next to my bed. I don't store them normally near my ancestral altar, but if I would go out of town and not take them, that's where I would store them. So that's important to have in an ancestral altar. It could be as simple as, a picture of a deceased one with a candle. It could be something elaborate. It's just whatever you feel the spirit's telling you to do. One thing is important just to let you know, not to store. I don't know if you're familiar with ancestral altars, but try not to put them in your bedroom. If you do, keep them covered. So not everybody knows that. That's just a little something, The next thing you're going to need, of course, is a bone set. Now, you're going to want at least 18 to 20 pieces. That's in a starter set. What I'm going to be going over with you is a deluxe set that includes the starter set. But I'm going to give you a list of the starter set just in case you want to go ahead and start collecting. which I'll do right now. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if you want to write these down. If I go too fast, just let me know. You want muskrat teeth. You want a raccoon baculum. You want a chicken bone. You want a cat bone, preferably a black cat bone. But if you can't find one, a cat bone will suffice. A snake vertebrae, shark tooth. And I'm going to show you what all these are here in a minute, because some of them are not recognizable. Just obviously a shark tooth is, but like the snake vertebrae and stuff like that. A deer slice, which is the slice from the antler. 2 cowries. Cat's eye shell, I'm sorry. A buckeye nut. Coin. A key. Safety pin. Thimble. A bell.
Could you slow down for just a second? Sorry, I lost
Sure.
your
Yeah.
Buckeye.
Okay, let me know where you're at, and I'll go ahead and
I lost you back at Buckeye.
Buckeye nut. Okay, coin. A key. Safety pin. Thimble. A bell. Ring. A fishing weight. I'll go ahead and let you get caught up. A fish hook. Dice. Just one, a die, I guess. A button. And a couple of beads or shells. Okay? So that's what you need to get started with. That's a starter kit. It's okay to start with that, but you don't get the details that you really need, which is why I go into the deluxe sets. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over some bones and their meanings. I'm going to show you what they look like. We're going to start off with the muskrat teeth, which looks like this. And now most bones, when they're facing down, they are silent in the reading. However, some bones, when they're facing down, they mean something. For instance, the muskrat teeth, if the smooth side is showing, that means it's good communication. There's good communication going on. If the rough side is showing, that means there's bad communication going on. And that could be between people, with relationships or work, or depending on what's surrounding it. So the next one is the raccoon baculum. Does everyone know what that is? What a raccoon baculum is? Yeah? Okay. This stands for love and fidelity. So next one is your chicken bone. Now, chicken bones come in all different shapes and sizes, obviously. This one's mine. And I have another one that's small and skinny, just depending on which reading I use. But this usually means to clean out the coop. That means you need to clean up a mess that's going on in your life. Then comes the cat bone, and they vary slightly. Preferably, you would want a black cat bone, but if not, you can just get a regular one, as long as you introduce it to your ancestors as the cat bone, and it stands for lucky. If it's pointing toward the little part right here is pointing towards something, that means it's lucky. Then we have a snake vertebrae, which is really kind of tiny. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know if everybody can see it. It stands for strength and flexibility. Then we have the shark tooth. Here it is. It's very tiny. And everybody knows what a shark tooth pretty much looks like. It stands for out for blood. That means something is out for blood, or someone is out for blood. A deer molar. This stands for intuition. The deer slice, which is an antler slice, Stands for home and hearth. The rattlesnake and cobra ribs. Any kind of snake ribs. They kind of look like this. They're smaller, they're bigger. They're used as dividers in the beginning. You can have multiple ones if you can't see the clusters, which we'll go over. If you only have one, it stands for constriction. The buffalo tooth. This one is dark. They can come light. And it stands for abundance. Chicken foot bone is very tiny. It's about this big. I don't know if you can see that. And it stands for scattered. That means something is kind of scattered everywhere. Buffalo bone bead, moderation. Doesn't matter the shape of it, just any kind of buffalo bone bead. Badger carpals. I have these in a bottle because they're small. That stands for completing projects and completing achievements, and that you'll never give up on your projects. A cat claw, which is also small, so I put it in a bottle. These are pretty easy to acquire. That means you'll always land on your feet. Alligator foot means you're holding on to something. It could be good, it could be bad. I have a pig bone, which is like a rib bone. Really easy to acquire. And that's gluttony, too much of something. Then I have a fish bone, which comes in many shapes and sizes. That stands for endurance. Then you have cowrie shells. Now they come in different sizes. In this kit, particularly the ones that I sell, they're about this big. You get 2 of them. They're for yes and no questions. They stay out of the reading, and during the reading, the querent's going to probably have questions and say, hey, I know what that means. And when that happens, you roll the cowries. If it comes 2 slit sides up, that means yes. If it comes the 2 round sides up, that means no. And if it's one of each, that means you need to reword the question and ask it again. If you ask it 3 times the question and you reworded it and it still comes up neutral, then that just simply means that they're not going to answer. The ancestors are not going to answer. Then you have small shells and beads that represent people. I'm going to get these out. I have a couple little that are trimmed in silver, and just little beads. They don't have to be this particular one, just any kind of little beads. These represent people. I also use worry dolls. When I'm doing a lot of readings in a row, I use worry dolls, and I give those to the querent after the reading, and it's something for them to take home with them. It's already got their energy on them. If they choose not to take home the worry doll, I wrap up the worry doll and I bury it in a nice, safe place. So that way their energy is in a good, positive place. Sometimes you can use little stones and stuff that represent people. Today we're going to use the worry doll. So whenever we do the throw, there's an alphabet shell, which soothes emotions. The open cowrie shell, which the back of it is open. When this shell shows up and the open side shows up, that means it's the opposite. Everything around it is the opposite. We have rose quartz, which this is really tiny, and it stands for happiness and love. The howlite skull, which is very important. It represents your ancestors. It's really tiny. Represent your ancestors. If it's facing in, that means your ancestors are looking upon you favorably. If it's facing toward a certain collection of bones, they're looking on you favorably. If it faces outward, that means they're not looking on you favorably, and you need to do more work with the ancestors. When reading the bones, you're basically getting in touch with your ancestors for guidance, your spirit guides, angels, God, goddess, whoever it is that you pray to, but predominantly your ancestors is who you're communicating with, and they're giving you the information that you need as guidance for the reading, and you trust your intuition. Your intuition is huge whenever it comes to this. We also have a cat's eye shell, which I don't think I did. Did I do the? No, there it is. The cat's eye shell looks like this. And if it's this side up, that means you're seeing things clearly. And if it's this side up, that means you're not seeing things clearly. When I say you, I'm referring to the querent, okay, to the questioner. I have a howlite turtle, which stands for things are moving slowly. The buckeye nut is really important. It stands for health. If the buckeye side is up, that means bad health. If the buckeye side is down, that means good health. So remember, some of these things, some of these bones and curios, they represent something if they're up or down. So, all right, some of these are going to be kind of obvious. The coin represents money and finances. The key is opportunities. The safety pin means you're safe in that area. The thimble stands for work or school. If it's upward like this, it means things are overflowing. Things are good, they're overflowing. If it's down like this, that means things are just stable, which is good. But if it's on its side, that means it's a rocky situation. The bell stands for happiness. The ring stands for commitments. Now that can mean in a relationship, or that can mean a commitment to work, depending on where it falls in the reading. The fishing weight means you're carrying a heavy load. You feel like you're being weighed down by something. The fish hook means you're holding, something is holding you back. Someone or something is holding you back. The coffin nail is also an important piece because it means the end of something. It means that something has come to fruition. It's the end of it. It can mean death, but normally it just means that something has completely come to fruition. It's ending. It's over. Depending on where it falls in the reading, of course, like if it was around work, that means that job is probably going to end and you're going to move on to something different. The dice gives you a sense of time. Like, for instance, if it landed on a 2, that's between now and 2 weeks. If it lands on a 5, the reading is now between now and 5 weeks. The button is connecting. It's a connecting piece. And the marble means playfulness and happiness. So give me a moment to put all of these back in my basket here. Is there any questions on the meanings? Nope. Okay, good deal. So to get the meanings, they're derived by handed down information, and it's really hard to get information whenever it comes to reading bones. I don't know if you've ever tried to look online. I've got a few books, which I'll show you. There's one that I recommend, though, highly. Besides mine, I'm writing a book. It's coming out so in the next couple of months. But this book is called Bone Shells and Curios, and it's by Michelle Jackson. And the first, I'd say 53 pages of it are really good. The last are just kind of example readings, and it's a little hard to follow. But the first half of the book is really incredible. It teaches you a lot about different types of readings. It teaches you about the ancestors and things like that. So you can get meanings out of books. If you can't find the traditional meaning, then I suggest you go online and look for the totem animal meaning, the spiritual meaning, whatever resonates with you. If you come up with a meaning, even if it's a traditional meaning, for example, snakeskin shed. I have snakeskin shed in my box, and it usually means transformations and transitions. But to some people, snakes might be scary. So it might resonate with them, fear. And it's okay to change the meaning. It's whatever resonates with you. So when you first get your bones, you want to introduce each one to the ancestors. After you've cleansed them, you're going to introduce them to the ancestors, each and every one, and then you'll be ready to start. Now, when you begin your reading, you have the questioner pick out what they want to represent them. In this particular throw, we're going to use the worry doll to represent the questioner. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to switch this around, and then that way you can kind of see what I'm doing on the table. If I can get it to switch around, there we go. Can everyone see that okay? Okay. So the first thing you want to do before you do the reading, and you want to make sure your cowrie shells are in there too, is you want to cleanse them. Now you cleanse them before the reading, because if you use Hoyt's cologne or anything like that afterwards and you put them up, it's going to damage the bones. It's going to mildew them. So I always just spray a light spray over them and mix them up. And then I say a little prayer to the ancestors to please clean this energy from all the previous readings. You know, I claim this is so mote it be. Then you'll have the questioner mix up the bones. Now, if you have a box like I do, they'll have to turn it back and forth. If you've got a bag, they'll have to mix it up in the bag. Right now, we're using a little basket. So we just kind of mix them up, and the questioner mixes them up. They can use their hands. That's fine with me. And they concentrate on giving you permission to read for them. Then they're going to blow on the bones. And then you'll say a little prayer over them. You'll have the questioner put their hand on there as well. You say a little prayer to your ancestors, the Great Spirit, your gods, your goddesses. Please give you the knowledge and the intuition to do the bones, to read the bones clearly for this questioner. So when you throw them, sometimes they fall off. I don't know if you saw that, but like that one fell off. So that one won't be red. That one will stay in here. You want to do it carefully, and then you let the questioner go 3 times counterclockwise. Another one fell off. 3 times counterclockwise until they're spread out and they feel comfortable with it. That also connects them with the ancestors and with the bones. So what I have is a porcupine, an African porcupine quill that I use to mark the bones to kind of show a guidance as to where things are. You're going to want to start with your self piece. It's called the self piece, and that represents the questioner, which is right here. Okay, and you look around and take your time to kind of figure out what's going on. You're looking for clusters. Now, everybody's going to see the clusters differently. Everybody's going to feel the clusters differently. But I see a cluster right here around this. Do you see that? So what I do is I start with the little self piece and I read what's around it. Now, it's showing up underneath it that there's something out for blood. The shark piece is showing. So something's out for blood. So there's something regarding the questioner that is somebody or something is not being very nice to them. They're out to get them. The ring is right next to it. So it has to do with some sort of a commitment. And the home and hearth bone is right next to it. So it has to do with home and hearth. So what this tells me is that there's somebody or something that is wanting to do harm to this person, maybe in their relationship, because they have the ring next to it. There's also the coffin nail, which shows the end of something. So that tells me that there's something going on there, that somebody or someone is trying to affect them, okay, and their home and hearth. The chicken bone, if you remember, means something that's you need to clean out the coop. So this questioner needs to kind of clean up the mess, whatever mess is going on at home, and realize, you know, what exactly is it, who exactly is it that's trying to harm them in their home. If they do so, happiness will come out of it. So now you move on to another section like finances, which would be right here. This is where the coin is. Okay, so finances are in moderation. This is a little cluster that I see. Finances are in moderation, and they're seeing things clearly as the way they are. They're a little bit scattered at the moment because this is the little small chicken, the chicken foot bone. They're a little scattered at the moment because of maybe too much spending. This is the gluttony, the too much bone. So there's too much spending going on. They need to do a little bit more moderation when it comes to this. So then as you do this, you just move around the board and you do the different clusters. If you'll see the ancestor piece, which is really hard to see, I know it's tiny, the ancestor piece is facing inward, which means the ancestors are looking favorably upon the questioner. So they do have the help of their ancestors to do this. The Buckeye nut represents the health. So the health is good. Now it's right next to the work and school. So you would ask them, do you go to work? Do you go to school? If they go to work, it shows that it's rocky. Remember I told you whenever the thimble is over on its side, it's rocky. But at the same time, the health, because it's next to the school and the work curio, the health of it is going to come out okay. If it was this side up, I would say that they're in a detrimental situation and that they need to worry about their work. But because it was this side up, that means that things are going to be okay. They just need to work on whatever is making them rocky at work. And I'm not sure, let me move these in so you can see them better. The dice is a 3, so this reading is between now and 3 weeks. So basically you just move around the board and you look at the clusters and you just follow what the clusters are and the meanings are, and then you use your intuition to kind of explain more. That's where the pieces come in, where as many pieces as what you can get, you can give more details. So that's where the pieces come in. So I'm going to scoot these together. I'm going to show y'all a couple other pieces that I have that are just interesting, and then we're going to throw them in the mix. Okay, I've got to get a drink of water because I'm thirsty. Okay, so some of the pieces I wanted to show you that I thought were interesting that I had. I have a stingray barb, and it stands for moving in the right direction. If the bottom part was facing the, like say work, and the point was facing outward, that means you're moving in the right direction with work. I have the nose of a fox, which means basically anything, any piece of the fox could mean this. It can mean 2 different things. It can mean sneakiness, or it can mean I can kind of see through the bullshit. I can see through what's going on. I have the cat's foot. Now the cat's foot represents the same thing as the little cat's, the little cat nails. I'm landing on my feet. Only if it's face up. If it's face down, that means there's going to be issues. I have a black widow spider. And she represents female energy, usually very strong sexual energy, very positive energy, the feminine side of someone. I have an octopus arm, and that means you're wrapped up in something. You're tied up in something and you're wrapped up in something. I have a little walrus tooth, and it just means you're very agreeable. I like your little dog in the back, Mason. Is that a boy or a girl? She's looking at me. This means that you're very agreeable on something, that you're too agreeable. You need to kind of step back and not just go with the flow so much. You need to be more independent. I have a mammoth tusk fossil, and I got this off of the internet, bones, the skull store. I'm sorry, the skull store. The bone room is also another good place to buy bones, which we'll tell you about that in a second. But anyway, this is representing protection, teaching, things like that, guidance, that kind of thing. Like somebody is your protector. I have a little squirrel leg, and that means you need to save something for later. So you can use actual body parts. You don't have to use just bones. You don't have to use just shells. You don't have to use just curios. You can actually use body parts. And then this is one of my favorite ones. This is a human finger. It's a phalange, and it means helping out. It means either you need help or you're going to help out somebody else. So that is what I have to show you that are extra. As far as memorizing the pieces, my advice is to memorize them, memorize the starter pieces first, and then start adding little pieces per week. I go through my bones every night, and I introduce them back to the ancestors every single night, all 200 of them. I do it every single night. And it'll help you memorize them and what they mean. And it also helps the ancestors realize what they mean to you. So the last thing to talk about are the cowrie shells. During the reading, if somebody had a question, like say, for instance, the reading I just did, somebody had a question. They said, okay, I think I know what's going on with, with the person that's trying to affect my home. They'll kind of interrupt you and stop you and, and ask them, do you know who this person might be? Do you know what the situation might be? If they answer, well, I think I might know, that's whenever you do the cowrie shells. And basically you throw them. And if somebody says, okay, it's Peter, I think Peter is messing up my relationship. It's a friend of my husband's or my wife's or whatever. And it comes up with 2 slits up, that would mean yes. I do a 2 out of 3 roll just to make sure that it is a yes. If it comes up like this, that means it's neutral. And if it comes up like this, that means it's no, to move on. But you use your cowries during the reading. It's very important as you're doing things, because it clarifies what you're saying to the questioner. If they don't use the cowries at the end of the reading, you make sure and ask them, okay, are there any questions that you have that I can answer with the cowries? Very important, because it clarifies the whole entire reading. Also, at the end of the reading, it's important to anoint them and do a blessing, thank the ancestors, anoint them with oil, and that's called the crowning. That's optional, but I like to do that because it's like a blessing to the questioner. So some of the other things you can do as far as bonding with your bones, you can talk to them. I have a little list here. This is a handout I normally give during the class, but unfortunately I can't give that right now. So I'll just sort of list it. Some of the things you can do to bond with them is you can talk to them. Some people might think this is a little weird, but it's very common. You can give them your blood, usually menstrual blood, if you're female, of course. You can sleep with it under your pillow. You can carry them throughout the day. If you get a new piece with you, then you must carry that with you to kind of bond with it, and then introduce it to your ancestors. Periodically, you can smoke and water them, and that's in the caring feeding. Every once in a while, if you do a lot of readings, you're going to need to cleanse them. Use the Florida water, the Hoyt's clone, that kind of thing. And I also don't know if I mentioned this, but I put mine in a little spray bottle, so that way it doesn't soak the bones. You can just kind of spray above them, and the mist will fall, and you can clear them up. And it's very easy to carry with you. You can put pinches of tobacco and mugwort in their resting place. Some people put it directly in the bones themselves. And of course, working with them regularly. Now, sometimes you will end up with a bone that breaks. You can continue to use that bone, or you can choose to retire it. If you retire it, you need to bury it. You need to bless it. You need to say thank you for its use. Thank you for your ancestors guiding you with it. Sometimes you get a piece that's lost. You can sometimes it'll come back to you. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Sometimes it'll come back to you. You can reuse it, but if it comes back to you, you'll have to reintroduce it to your ancestors. Now, Mason and I were talking earlier about like finding roadkill or finding, animals that are just random. You don't know how those animals have passed. And even when you're buying from a reputable source that say, oh, we get these, we get these, not from killing the animals and they're reputable, you don't know for sure that they are. So you're going to want to do a cleansing on them. Like I said, when you first get them, when you cleanse them, you're going to want to get rid of any kind of negative energy, but you want to keep the spirit of the animal. It's very important. So throwing surfaces, something that we hadn't touched yet. You'll need something to throw on. I'm going to show you you don't have to buy something, although there's plenty out there that are nice to buy. You can just get a cloth. This is my first one I ever had. And all it is a piece of material from a skirt that I really liked, and it was just easy. Dark material works best whenever you're first learning, because you can see the bones a lot easier. Another example is this little mat, and this is made out of canvas, and I think I used to sell them. I don't sell them anymore. I think I sold them for like $8, but you can get them off the internet. It's also used for tarot, but it's perfect for bone reading. And then in my other classes, I teach like probably 8 different throws. 2 of the most common, one of them is called the circle within circle. And so that's what this is. If you can see the 2 different circles. And the other one I have is the sun cross mat, which I'll flip this around again. The sun cross mat. You'll notice it's got 4 quadrants. This is the most common used mat. This is a traditional mat. So if you're going to go out and purchase one, this is the one I recommend. They sell them on Etsy. I forgot the little girl's name, but they run about $40 or so. So usually about this time is whenever I have people do example throws. Is there anybody that wants to try to, I can throw the bones. Is there anybody that wants to try to do a sample throw? Or should I just pick somebody? Somebody tries to read it to me as I throw them. I don't know if did anybody write down the meanings to what they were that wants to try it? I could just do another sample. You want to give it a shot? Okay.
Sure.
All right, good deal. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around. Oops, sorry. All right, can you see that okay?
Mostly.
Mostly? All right, I'm going to try to keep it in the center there so that way. Did you happen to write down the other ones, or did you write down just the ones from the kit?
Just the first ones you did before you threw the bones the first time to show us.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to, I didn't want to throw in the other ones just in case. Okay, let me get the cleaning stuff. So I've cleansed them.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to act as the questioner. And I'm going to kind of mix them up here. Now we've already said our prayer. We've already blessed them. We've already done all that. We just kind of skipped over that for time wise because I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm squishing in a 2-hour class into about an hour and 15 minutes. So. Okay. So what do you see first? Do you see this is me right here.
There's your little worry. Well, I can't point to it on my screen. Okay. There's your little worry doll. Is that the buffalo tooth beside her, which means abundance? And I think, is that the cat side?
It is.
So there's abundance and you're seeing it clearly.
Okay. It's right in here.
And I know you said to look for clusters, but it seems to almost spiral out from there into, I think those are the muskrat teeth and the ring and thimble and all of that. So it's almost like it's all connected.
Okay. So where would you like to start? Would you like to start up here? Is this the spiral you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So just as a suggestion, I would start at the top.
Okay. So chicken bone represents cleaning out the coop, right?
Right.
So, and again, I would say everything almost falls from that. So it's kind of like you need to clean out the coop in order to, I can't see what that is underneath the chicken bone. I'm sorry.
Oh, that is the constriction bone.
Okay. So with them crossed like that, I would probably read that as there's something preventing you from cleaning out the coop, but you need to get through that, push through it in order to have all these things that fall from it, which look like, I think there's good communication, not right now. Good communication. Oh, that's the best way. Okay, what's that? Yes. I'm sorry. What's that right there?
That's the fish bone.
Ah, sorry. I'm going to.
I don't know what's going on.
You're not invited to this. Please be quiet.
Why? Why, Mom? Why?
I'm sorry. My son is distracting me at the moment.
That's okay.
What's going on? Do you think I have to stop back?
No, please take that back to you. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to duck out of this and deal with him. I apologize. I'm going to mute myself.
Bye.
That's okay. Does anybody else want to try this? How about Mason? You want to try it?
To be honest, I was going to go back through the recording and take on my notes. Then I'm exhausted.
Okay, that's okay. What I'll do is I'll just kind of continue on. Okay.
Okay.
So as she was talking, I need to clean up the coop. There's something that I need to do to clean up the coop. Now, this is kind of far away, so that's not applicable, and it's also face down. So if it was this way, we would use it. So there's something I need to clean up. Now, that might be pertaining to whatever I see as I see things clearly regarding the abundance. There's something constricting me from having that abundance. I know what it is. I just have to do it. Okay? Does that make sense? The next one is the ancestor bone, which is right here. And I know it's hard to see, but he's facing inward toward me. Okay? So he is watching over the situation that I'm dealing with, which is really good. That means I'm in touch with my ancestors. He's laying right on top of the safety pin, which means I'm safe. And right outside of it is happiness. So if I can just get a hold of cleaning up whatever mess it is that I'm dealing with that's preventing me from getting this abundance, if I can just clean up that mess, I can have happiness. It's just right here. It shows I have good endurance and that I always land on my feet. This is the cat claw. Now, it's regarding some sort of a commitment. So now we're getting into the meat of things. It's regarding some sort of commitment. There is the out for blood. So maybe it's someone that's affecting me that I don't know that they're affecting me, that I need to clean up whatever mess that is. So we move on, and it looks like work is a little bit rocky, and it's holding me back. There's the thimble, there's the little fish hook, and it's holding me back for new opportunities, which is the key. Now, it's important to read that the dice, it's on a 2. So this is between now and 2 weeks that I'm going to be dealing with this. So it's kind of a heads up. These pieces are sort of scattered, so I really wouldn't read them. I don't think that they're applicable. But there is over here a cluster. It does show that I have good strength and flexibility. It shows that I am able to complete my tasks, but I'm holding on to something. Now, because this curio, the nail is here, that's telling me that this is going to end. My completing my my tasks, my completing whatever it is that had to do with work over here, that's going to end if I don't do something quickly. I need to have strength and flexibility to be able to work through this. Does that make sense? That it all kind of flows together? This looks like a reading regarding my work. And then we have this cluster over here that's talking about bad communication. I need to get better about my communication, and that I have a lot of bad communication. There's the gluttony, the too much of something. It's right next to the bone that says bad communication. So I need to get better with my communication, or none of this is going to work. The cat bone is facing outward, so I'm not lucky whenever it's regarding this. It looks like I have a lot of work I need to do. I need to use my intuition more. So basically, this reading is telling me, this reading is leaning more, and my intuition is telling me it's leaning more towards my work, that I have something that's holding me back for new opportunities, that I need to clean up whatever mess it is, because I'm not going to get the abundance. I can see it, and I know what it is, but if I don't do it, I'm not going to get the abundance in work like I want. So I hope that made a little bit of sense to you. Is there any questions about it? Then I would roll the cowrie shells. I'm at the end, so I would roll the cowrie shells. So say I know what this is about. Say it's about me doing too much. I'm doing too much activities all at the same time. I need to slow down. I would hold the cowrie shells over the little section, and I would ask, am I doing too much all at the same time? And I would roll them. And it came out, I don't know if you could tell, but it came out with a slit up. and a round side up. So it didn't give me an answer, so I need to do it again. Am I doing too much? Do I need to slow down in what I'm doing as far as work? It came up a yes. You see how the two slits are? There's one. There's one. So we're going to do them one more time, because I like to do 3 times. Am I doing too much at work? Is that what's going on that I need to slow down? And it gave me the neutral sign again. So I would take that as a yes, because it did give me an answer. That means that I would need to slow down. So the reader would then tell me, you need to slow down a little bit. You're taking on too much. You need to kind of clean out the mess and clean out all the stuff that you're doing. Pick the most important things, focus on those. And then maybe your work the abundance will come. You know that you're doing this. You know you need to slow down. The work will come, and it may be stable after that. So does that make sense to everybody, or is there any questions? Make sense? Okay. Let me go back over. Okay, so really, there's not a whole lot more to go over. I like to have my students do a couple example throws, but if no one knows the answers to the bones, then we might not be able to do that. So I'd like to take this time and answer any questions. Does anybody have any questions about it? I might be able to do that. Yeah. I need to find it on my computer. Actually, I have the website that I got it from. So yeah, that's not a problem. I'll just go back to the website and get that.
If for some
Some of the
reason,
things,
if for some reason that doesn't work out, one thing that I do sometimes is I have a decent camera on my phone. I'll just make sure to take a very steady shot of a piece of paper with my phone, and that
and send that.
works well enough. You just zoom in, and it's not the preferred method, but if it's all you got, then it's all you got.
Okay. Well, I have the websites that I credited at the bottom, so hopefully they're still legit. It just meant, and it's got a lot of good information on it. It mentions, grounding and centering yourself, light meditation before you're entering your altered state. Some of the things that I can mention that you can have that are extras are like, besides the anointing oil, is you can have a glass bowl of water. During your reading, I always have a glass bowl of water, and that helps you get in touch with the spirits. You can also, while the questioner is shaking up the box or the bag or swishing them around in the basket, you can use rattles, you can use drums, you can chant, you can do anything to raise energy. That's always a good thing. Let me see what else. You can make sure whenever you pray that your both of your hands are on the box or the bag or the basket. Make sure that if you can touch hands whenever you're doing it. And like I said, make sure you thank your ancestors at the end and the spirit guides and your gods and goddesses at the end of your reading. So that's really what I have. All I have. I know I was supposed to fill up an hour and a half, but we usually do practice readings at the end. Oh yeah, you can make substitutions for pieces very easily. For example, I have a piece that broke that meant misery that broke. Recently I acquired a tooth that had fallen out in not quite a good way. So I've replaced it with that. But what you have to do, like say if you have a broken piece and you have a new piece, what you would need to do is you would need to thank the broken piece and bury it, or say if you lost it, you thank it anyway, and you imagine burying it, have a ceremony for it, and then you present the new piece to the ancestors. And like I said, it's really important that you go on your intuition. If you've got a piece that to you means something different than even what the traditional meaning is, that's important that you use that meaning. So I also, another example is I had a seahorse charm, and I acquired a little baby seahorse in a bottle about this big. And so I exchanged it out. And what I did with the charm is I gifted it to somebody, which is acceptable. But when you gift it to somebody, they need to go through the whole process of cleansing it, introducing it, and things like that. Does that answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I do have bones and work with bones and stuff, but some things I have and some things I'm a little less than perfectly comfortable with, and just wondered, I know there are inorganic stuff in the whole. I'm not really, I'm sure some people would want to make, a vegan throwing set. That's not me, but I just wondered to what degree was it acceptable to be like, well, but I have this thing and this could mean this, and
Yeah, it's absolutely.
if you're putting together your
fine,
original set.
Yep. And you can also, a real good thing to do is if you don't have something, you can get a chicken bone, and you don't have to label it if you can remember what each chicken bone looks like, but you can label it if you want. It means something. Chicken bones are so common. Chicken bones, shells, any kind of a little curio that you think could represent that is perfectly acceptable. And like you said, you can have a vegan set that has no animal bones in it at all, and it's just all shells and curios. Perfectly fine. Mine's got all kinds of stuff in it. It's got a huge mixture of everything in it, but yeah, that's perfectly fine. But chicken bones, fish bones are real good to use as they're real easy to acquire. Just to let you know, I acquire my chicken bones from a friend of mine that eats wings all the time. So I get those, and we can even talk about that a little bit. Cleaning the bones, if you get roadkill. I know Mason said that he cleaned his, the black cat bones, but there are ways to clean them. So what you do is I'm going to give you the example with the chicken wing bones, because that's what we use most often that I have cleaned from me. I don't touch roadkill because it freaks me out. But there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't, it freaks me out. So the chicken bones, you want to clean off as much meat as possible. This is really on any bones. You want to clean as much meat off as possible. And then what you do is you boil them at a boiling simmer, like a real hard simmer, for about 4 to 6 hours. And then you take a brush and you get all the rest of the meat and the cartilage and everything else off of it. You want to make sure that you clean all the stuff that's hanging on it completely off. Make sure the bone is clean. Then you would soak it in Dawn dish detergent water overnight, and that takes care of all the grease and the gross stuff that's on there, and the slimy that's on there. And then you rinse them really good, and you put them in hydrogen peroxide, but don't water down the hydrogen peroxide. You put them in hydrogen peroxide for a couple of hours. You keep checking it until you get your desired whiteness of the bone. So yeah, that's all you do. And then if you want kind of a darker, antique-y looking bone, I would suggest still doing it that way, and just take tea bags or coffee and just dye it back to the color that you want to do, because you want to make sure that they're clean. Some people also set them in the sunlight with the hydrogen peroxide, and it like that whitens them, but it can also damage them. So be careful, and do not use bleach on them. Whatever you do not use bleach. So you can do chicken feet. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so I used bleach, but not for very long. I mean, I didn't want the bone to become too brittle. Is that why you say don't use bleach, just because it can make the bone
Yeah,
brittle?
it'll make it very brittle. Yeah, and it can continue to make it brittle, and it'll break eventually. So that's why you don't use bleach. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have another question? Well, you Yeah, well, what I do, I use almost all of them when I throw them, because what they do is they give details. I have subject pieces, which I'm going to go ahead and I usually teach the subject pieces in the intermediate class, but I'll go ahead and just name some of them off that you might want to represent. So you have the self piece, and I don't know, is anybody writing these down? If so, like raise your hand, because I'll slow down, because I know it's being recorded. Anybody? So I know it's being recorded. I'm just going to kind of go through them. You have the self piece, which is most important. That's the one that I told you about, that you start off with. You have your family piece, represents your family, friends, children, health, work and school. I have two separate pieces for work and school. Home and hearth, finances, love and romance, travel and journey, projects and activities, legal matters, which may or may not pertain to the questioner, spirit guide, and ancestors. Those are all important subjects. So when I'm doing a reading, because I have so many pieces, when I'm doing a reading, I start off with the self piece, and then I move to the different subjects, and the pieces surrounding those subjects are what I read. And then toward the end, I go to whatever my intuition is and move around and kind of put the story all together. Does that make sense that you would do that? Yeah, it's like the pieces that are surrounding the subject pieces are the ones that I read. Yeah. So, because usually whenever you start off with the beginning reader or reading, you don't have as many pieces. You may have 50, and you'll see that the supporting pieces are plenty for you to read. They're plenty for you to read. But as you add more, you're definitely going to want to add the subject pieces, and that's covered in the intermediate class. So, but yeah, and I do one-on-one classes. I've got it on my the vending site. I do one-on-one classes if anybody's interested, and I'm going to discount them if you've taken this and you want to go further with it and you want the one-on-one where it's more detailed. It comes with a bone kit, so you're sitting there with a bone kit, you're actually touching it, you're using it. And then I also sell the bone kits by themselves. So for people that are already seasoned in throwing the bones, I throw a bone kit too. I have one for sale, so if you want to check those out. But does anybody else have any more questions? Nope. Are we good? Okay, well, we ended about 15 minutes early, so that'll give Linda time to get ready for the next one. But I thank you guys. And like I said, this is my first one of doing it with a lot of people. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks.
What was the name of that book again?
Um,